All right, well, we're going to be getting started here in just a moment. Just want to make sure that we are all good and connected. Before I leave my screen sharing, I just wanted to go to the main site and make sure everybody has seen our recent team update. We update every Wednesday right before our webinars, and make sure that you're all aware of the hot things going on right now. So the most important thing is Texas. Everything's big in Texas, and your business can be big too. Tickets are on sale, but by the 30th, they go up. They go way up because I have to have my numbers into the hotel by the 30th. So after that, I'm just guessing and buying extra high-priced tickets. So make sure you get your prices. And there's a room rate, $129 at the Holiday Inn, that includes your free shuttle to and from the hotel and to and from the Friday night dinner, and includes free breakfast every single day. So there's a lot of value in that for sure. All the details in the launch are here. You can see the agenda. You can see the speakers. We really have I'm just going to take you to it really quick because you got to see who's coming. Everyone is going to be there because not only is Stuart Finger, a co-founder and board member, Kevin Fournier, president, board member, David Giarcangelo, national marketing director, board member. Not only are they going to be there, but there's also Evelyn Monroy is going to be there, and Dr. Fred Templeman is going to be there, and he's got a lot there's going to be so much information he shares. Some of it, we're going to record what we can, but a lot of it, you know how it is. You can't record certain things. When the doc talks real, you cannot record it and share it with people. So you got to be there if you want to be part of that. So it's at the Holiday Inn. The event was moved there just to make it really convenient for absolutely everybody. And here's what the agenda is looking like. So Friday night, Los Inodores, Mexican food. It's a restaurant. You can arrive anytime between 6 and 9 and eating on your own, but we'll all be there to mix and mingle. And they're going to make some special margaritas, mangosteen margaritas. We're excited about that. All right. And the hotel has a shuttle, and they'll be taking people back and forth. So you don't have to worry about paying for that either. All right. Saturday, listen to this. 10 in the morning, 1Ks and above, 10 to 11, coffee hour. Kevin is going to do like a town hall meeting where anything goes. We'll ask questions and he'll direct them to the appropriate corporate person to respond to that. And then 11, the doors are going to open. Then we're going to have lunch brought in. We're going to all have lunch, but we're going to take it to our seats. And we're going to have a lunch hour where we're going to hear product experiences and stories led by first Dr. Templeman, talking about the mangosteen experiences he's had in his own practice when he was still a practicing physician, as well as others that he has seen since with the XanthoMyst. So that's going to be a powerful hour. We'd like for all of you that are going to be there to share your experiences. We're going to send an email out prior to invite people to share an experience with education on how to do that appropriately. And all of that. So that's going to be then. And then 12:30 to 5:30, we got 5 power-packed hours. And by next week, I'll even throw the agenda for that out, but we've got so many such great business training and such great product training from Dr. Templeman. So all of that is there. The tickets, get your tickets. DermaV is on sale, 30% off to the July 9th. I'm excited. I love this. You know, what's funny is this product, I was trying to figure out why it was so familiar. I just love it. It's a day and night skin treatment formula. I use it as a moisturizer. I use it as a serum. I use it and I love it. And it reminds me of a product that Free Life had back in the day that many of us have used and loved. But anyway, it's normally $50 wholesale. It's on sale for $35. So get your DermaV if you haven't already tried it. Our call archives, if you miss them, you want to share this webinar we're doing with Dr. Dan, it'll be on the archive page by tomorrow. Usually, sometimes it's the weekend. CTFO International, XanthoMyst is launched in every market now in CTFO. It's pre-launched right now in Europe and the UK markets, about 2 weeks out before they'll get their first shipments, but they can order it now. And Mexico just launched a whole brand new market to CTFO, and it is all XanthoMyst. Special promotions going on. Okay, caught you all up. Always like to start with the news because people are still tuning in and getting connected and all of that stuff. So now that we are ready for the main event, I want to introduce everybody to Dr. Daniel Flemming. Now, Dr. Flemming is, I'm going to pull up your bio, even though I can say most of it without reading it, but I like to read it. He's been practicing in Colorado Springs since 1990. He's used nutrition, herbs, and supplements extensively in his practice. He was introduced to benefits of mangosteen about 20 years ago. Wonder what product that could have been. And he has used that as part of his practice at various times because of the amount of benefit that he has seen for his patients. And now he's using XanthoMyst with his patients. He's already seen tremendous benefits, both personally and with the patients, with XanthoMyst in just a few weeks. So he wanted to come and share his personal story. And I'm like, Dr. Dan, can you just come on and be our special guest? Because I would really love for you to share with people about mangosteen and how it works in the body and why it helps people get the kind of results that you're getting, and then share with us your personal results and the results of your patients.
Okay, can you see and hear me then?
Can see you and hear you great.
All right. So apparently I was experimenting with a virtual background. That's one of my Milky Way shots. I don't know exactly where that came from, and it looks like there's kind of sparkly around my head, so that's kind of my halo, you know. One of the reasons I wanted to talk is, it's kind of, as far as me, it's kind of early days with this. I've been doing the XanthoMyst personally for a couple months, I guess, or pretty close to it, 7 or 8 weeks, and I've used it with patients several times, and I've been trying to be as observant as I can about it. One of the things with kind of be in the position you are where you're making recommendations and stuff like that, you really need to kind of watch what you're getting for a while and be observant, because you want to have some credibility about what you're recommending, both in terms of people kind of feel like you've done your due diligence and really looked at it, and also you don't want to recommend something that nobody gets results with. Being familiar with the other main mangosteen product, I'm sure we're all familiar with it, most of us, and saw some really great results with that when that came out, and had gradually drifted away from it. Some of the changes the company had been through, and kind of how expensive it'd gotten and stuff like that. But I still used it for certain things, when or Mike and Betty introduced me to this, I was pretty interested because I was already very well aware of how effective the xanthones in the mangosteen can be for a lot of different conditions. Especially, I think one of the things that I've seen other doctors, they're just comparing the I can't remember the term right now, but the amount of antioxidant effect that a product has, because that's where some of the effect, or a lot of the effect for a lot of these products come from. Something like goji berry, for instance, it's got real high antioxidant properties, and it has a few other properties, but mangosteen is different, and it has a lot of properties that other botanicals and herbs do not. I think they've discovered, if I'm remembering right, 70 xanthones. I know at least 60 at this point that are in the mangosteen. I think they've studied 10 or 12 of them fairly extensively, and they know they have some real strong properties. But one of them, one of the main xanthones, I think, is alpha mangosteen, and they know that one has COX-2 inhibitor properties and is a really good anti-inflammatory. And inflammation underlies so many conditions people have, even things most people don't associate with. Everybody knows if you got a bruise and it's red and swollen, that's inflammation. But inflammation throughout the body makes for a lot of achiness. It makes for a lot of lethargy. It can really affect your brain, your mood quite a bit, and can be a factor into anxiety and depression and some other things like that. And just enjoying life. I mean, when your body's inflamed, you don't enjoy life very much. And one of the things a lot of people have seen, I've seen it, several of my patients have commented on it, is pretty shortly after they take the XanthoMyst, they feel a little bit of a lift. And they kind of have a hard time describing it, but it's kind of like their mood kind of lifts a little bit and the clarity comes up a little bit. And I've seen them say that, even unprompted, not saying anything about it, they often comment on that. And I think some of that lift is reduction of inflammation. Some of it may be, I think some of the xanthones in there have some properties similar to St. John's wort on mood elevation and stuff like that. What I have personally seen with this is, one, I'm sleeping quite a bit better. In fact, I get sleepy earlier in the evening. And that's been going up and down, but I've got several other things that I'm doing in terms of supplements and stuff that I've been changing at the same time I tried this, which makes it a little bit more difficult to evaluate things. But, and that's a good point to tell people is, if possible, don't change anything else when you try something like this so that you know what's causing what. But in general, it's helped me sleep, and several of my patients have commented it's helped them sleep too. And I think Dr. Templeman mentioned that the other day. That's one of the things he'd been hearing too. And that was not one of the things I think that one of the original mangosteen product that we were working with had reported particularly. I mean, I think some people probably did, but it wasn't one of the main things you heard, whereas it's been pretty consistent with this, and I'm not quite sure why. With me, and I've been in practice as a chiropractor for a long time, 30-something years, and I've gotten very observant over the years, both with what's going on with my patients and what's going on with me, and pretty objectively observant. One of the things that I noticed with the other mangosteen product I was doing is I often, not all the times, but often, about 10 minutes after I had taken some, I felt just a little bit of that same kind of lift I was talking about. It's almost like achiness kind of softens a little bit, and your mood goes up a little bit. Things just feel a little bit easier. It's hard to describe, and it's a little bit subtle, but it's consistent enough, and it occurs without you really thinking about it or anticipating enough that it's a real phenomenon, in my opinion. And I would say with the XanthoMyst, I get 2 to 3 times the amount of that effect in terms of how noticeable it is than I did with the other mangosteen product, which I think goes along with the fact that this has xanthones in it, which were the active part of the mangosteen, and it's a lot more absorbed. It's much easier to absorb it into your system, and so I think you get a quicker and stronger response from that, and I think ultimately you'll have long-term more effect from on a lot of the conditions and stuff. Again, I've only been doing it 7 or 8 weeks myself, so I'm observing a lot of things. Specifically, one of the things, there's a couple of patients I wanted to mention. One of them had a lot of joint pain and arthritis and stuff like this, and this is a guy that's really active and really he does a lot of rock climbing and very fit. He works out. He eats extremely cleanly, and he's done a lot of stuff. But despite that, he's had a lot of joint pain and inflammation over the years. He immediately, I gave him some of the XanthoMyst. The next week he came back in, and it just been a week, and he said the inflammation in my joints is way down. And he was really impressed with that. He's very observant. He's done a lot of stuff over the years to help stuff like that, and he kind of can evaluate what's helping and what isn't. And he's pretty hard nosed about it. He's not one that tends to get much of a placebo effect. And he was impressed with it. And then I asked him if he'd noticed anything about clarity, because that's a lot of what people report. And he kind of startled a little bit. He said, "You know what? I have been clearer this week, and I never thought about it being connected to the XanthoMyst." And so it's important to ask people that, I think, because a lot of times they have kind of been noticing it, but not making a connection or not noticing it enough to really make a note of it until you ask them. Now, if you ask them ahead of time, sometimes you can get a little bit of a placebo effect, and they feel what they're expecting to feel. But it's important to, a week or two down the road, ask them about different things if they notice different things. And I think it's sometimes important to get people to report stuff, even if they're not sure it's from the XanthoMyst or not sure it's particularly strong or important or something like that, just report it and kind of let the chips fall where they may. And when you start getting enough reports from enough people and they're all saying something similar, then it's a little bit more reliable about what you're getting. But don't try to censor it yourself. Just report what you think you're feeling, and I think that's really important. I made some notes on this. The other one, the other main patient I wanted to talk about, he's been a severe diabetic for many years. He's got heart problems. He's got circulation problems. He's got very severe diabetic neuropathy to where his legs kind of from the knees down are purple. And he's on gabapentin, some pretty heavy duty medication to reduce the pain from the neuropathy. Again, I gave him some XanthoMyst. A week later, he came back and he said, my legs feel a lot better. His neuropathy pain was way down and he hadn't changed the amount of medication either way. And then the following week, he comes in every week. And the following week, he came in, he said, not only is my neuropathy still feeling better, but I think the discoloration in my legs is a little bit better. And he always wears shorts. And so I had thought that too, but I didn't want to say anything because it'd only been, I think, well, it'd been 2 weeks, basically. And had another guy on the other mangosteen product that we've been talking about, that he was diabetic and he had a discoloration in his legs, not quite as bad as this guy does, but and after about 6 or 8 months, he noticed that the discoloration was reducing, which was remarkable. You're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to be able to do that normally. And this guy and me had both observed that it seemed to be just a little different after 2 weeks. And I'm not quite sure how it can change that much. He still has a lot of discoloration, a lot of the skin is not in good shape and stuff. And if you look at it, say that's bad and it's still bad, and that's true, but both of us just thought that the color and just the general appearance of it had changed a little bit. I think that's remarkable. There's probably a couple other things that I've noticed. In general, what I've found is that this seems to be mangosteen effects that I'd been familiar with from the other years in dealing with mangosteen, but they're a little bit magnified. They seem to be a little bit stronger. In some cases, a fair amount stronger. And kind of some added stuff like the clarity and the sleep, the effect on sleep. And those I don't remember hearing a lot about that with the other mangosteen product, but I am hearing it with this, and I think that's significant too. So I think the push of all those xanthones and how easily they're absorbed has the potential to be a really big deal, because mangosteen is a big deal. It's been used for healing for centuries, and the mangosteen products I've used before had a lot of effect. At least some of them did. It depends on how they're prepared and stuff like that. Like I've bought just dried mangosteen powder to use in smoothies and stuff like that to get the effect, and they're not real expensive. But I never actually saw much effect from it. I maybe absorbed some of it, I don't know, but I didn't see anything from it. Whereas this, it was very obvious I was getting some kind of result with it. And that's about what I had, Kelly, I think.
Well, that's absolutely awesome. And I've noticed a lot of those same things. And it is hard to tell sometimes when you're on so many different supplements. But I'm really excited about, there is a mangosteen experiences page or product experience, CTFO product experiences page on Facebook. And there are testimonials rolling in from people who had never heard or tried any mangosteen product before in the past. So we got that, and then we've got people that have used prior mangosteen products, but now we're seeing what the results of a nano emulsion and powerful amounts of xanthones getting into the body. So I have invited, but I don't know if Doc noticed, Dr. Templeman is in the house. I saw. I sent you a private message, Doc, about do you want to share? So if so, raise your hand so I can promote you to panelist. Yes, thank you. And I thought he might have some comments about what you were talking about, as well as some new experiences himself that he'd like to share. All right.
I didn't necessarily want to get on camera tonight. I wanted to hear what the doc had to say. So it's nice to be here. And, you know, when you're in primary care, and I kind of consider that doctors of chiropractic are primary care physicians, because people walk in with all kinds of problems and come to them for what they can offer. And I don't know whether I mentioned this the last time, but when I started with mangosteen in the very beginning, I had I had a number of patients that were chronic patients that I couldn't help, but they kept coming back to me all the time saying, "Doc, has anything been discovered for my problems?" They were people largely who had had bad reactions to the medications that you could offer as a family practice doc, to the medications that you could offer them. They just hadn't reacted well to them. And some of them have had much worse than their complaints. The side effects of the drugs were so bad that they were leery, but they were hopeful that something was going to come forward. And they were the group of people that I chose to use the mangosteen product with for the very first time. And every one of them that continued on for the period of time, there were some that dropped out, but those people who kept on, they all had results. Now, they didn't necessarily have the results that they had been expecting to have. In other words, they didn't necessarily, if they were worried about pain in joints and things like that, have only results there, but they had them across the board. And that's what got me very, very interested in this. And I remember I spoke to one of the founders of the company at that time, and I said, you know what, it was well after this period of experimentation. It was 2 years into using it. I said to him, I'm going to come to Utah. I'm going to move to Utah, because I had made a calculation that during the time I had been practicing medicine and seeing people for 15 to 20 minutes, which was what I was allowed by the hospital that was my employer, they just stacked the people up for me. That was how I saw about 35,000 people for 15 minutes. And I was beginning to believe that these meetings that I was attending, where I could talk to not 35, but sometimes up to 800 and 900 people at a time, that there was a much better use of my time and effort in being able to talk to large numbers of people about this product specifically, but also about all kinds of things that had to do with lifestyle, because most of the diseases that carry us away in North America at this time are lifestyle diseases. So I had a podium where I could talk to thousands of people. And do you remember, Collie, I think we had 15,000 people one time in the Salt Palace, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
A couple of years in a row, more than 15,000. So it was really possible to talk about common sense, about the ownership of your own health. When I started practicing medicine years and years ago, and I was practicing in the South, and doctors were kind of like demigods. People didn't sue them very much. They came to them. They had respect in the community. They were usually given far more credit for the knowledge that they were supposed to have than they really did. But nonetheless, it was easy to do. But later on in the practice of medicine, when I was doing it after the 2000s, you no longer could count on that. And I began to believe that doctors needed to become more teachers than anything else, and consultants. In other words, they would talk to a person who had a medical problem, and that person was responsible for the medical problem. And they were the ones that controlled the lifestyle inputs. They were the ones that made the decisions about what they were going to do and try, et cetera. So they needed to really be in charge. And it stopped being doctor-centered and became more patient-centered. And I thought that was the right way to go. And that's why I gradually declined my practice until in about 2007. I didn't see patients on a regular basis anymore. Now, I still maintain my credentials, and I have, we just had last night, grandchild number 43. So you can imagine that if I don't ever see a patient coming through my door, that with the extended family that I have, I'm writing 3 or 4 prescriptions a week anyway, or dealing with cases, sewing up relatives and sewing up friends and removing things that are not supposed to be on the body when it's not a terrible, big operation. So I'm still doing the stuff that doctors do. And I am involved still in the teaching. And so much in what we do now today is about teaching good things, because the knowledge is out there. Anybody who knows how to run a computer or even a handheld device has access to information that could make them as smart as anybody they were trying to consult as a consultant if they bothered to get in and get going on it. And so I think it's great that people take responsibility for their health. And when you talk about the mangosteen, you're talking about something that is so broad in its effect. In other words, the body uses the elements in the mangosteen across the full organ systems of the body. Everything that the body does apparently appears to be able to, the body appears to be able to use something from this wonderful fruit that would make things better. And the body is very, very smart, a whole lot smarter than any doctor, no matter how many postgraduate degrees they have. If you give your body the right stuff, it's going to fix itself if it's at all possible. And I believe that firmly. I believe that we live in an age of nutrient depletion, not only our soils, but the breeding of our vegetables and fruits is not so much for any nutrient content, but for shelf life and appearance. And, I think I've said before, we've got an obesity epidemic. And part of the reason for that, I believe, is that we have to eat so much to get what is required in terms of the body's needs for micronutrients, particularly, that we get far too many calories for the nutritional value of what we're getting in what we're eating. And the body doesn't shut off the appetite until it gets what it needs. And so we eat greater quantities of food. And because these doggone guys who work in the food industry are so clever at making things taste great. Fast food tastes absolutely wonderful. It's crap as far as nutrients are concerned, but boy, does it taste good. And they're very good at it. And smart people are out there trying to make money without very much regard for the health of the people that they are selling their products to. So, I don't have much to say. I wasn't prepared to talk at all. But I listened to Doc and I heard him say, man, I like this one. And certainly you know that I like it. And everything that I am hearing, and I'm in a privileged position where I get to see most of the, I will hesitate to call them testimonials. I think I'm going to call them reviews. I get to see the reviews of the product, and they are, you know how the little system that Amazon has of 5 stars. These are 5 and 4 star reports. They're incredible things. And if you were able to see them all, there are reasons why it's not possible to lay them all out there. But I get to see them, and it cranks me up. So this is a remarkable product. It's only going to touch more people's lives. And when that sounds like a trite thing to say, touch somebody's life, but it's pretty amazing when you can find anything that is really going to touch your life when you're suffering. And that's the kind of story that we're hearing. And I get emotional hearing some of them. The other night, I don't know whether she's on tonight, but there is a holistic health practitioner in northern Alberta, up where my son went to do his psychiatry residency. She and I talked the other night for 2 hours. Now, I'm not sure she wasn't looking for reasons to get off the phone, and I just didn't let her get away. But amazing stories, just amazing stories. So if you were where I am, you would be so convinced, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better, Colleen. And I'm looking forward to next week a lot. I want to meet you, shake your hands, get to talk with you. It's very important to me that we get to do that.
I agree. And you did share something with me that I thought everybody should know, is that you're not intending on hitting the road and traveling and going and making all kinds of personal experiences. You can do all of that by Zoom these days. That's the one thing the last couple of years taught us, is we don't have to travel in person anymore, but you do if you care about people and you just want to give them a hug, and you just and you're coming to Texas for us and for our team. And I'm so grateful. And I just want everyone on this call, if you're not sure yet, you're on the fence, you figure it out. You get there for Doc, because he's coming there for you. And I hope we just pack that house and he gets so many hugs that
Colleen, I'm going to make myself available full throughout the period of time that I'm there to talk to any individuals who want to be, I don't necessarily need to be in every session. I'm certainly only presenting in a couple, but I would be willing to talk to anyone who has major concerns and thinks that something that I've seen in my life as a physician and as a proponent of natural health care might be useful to them. I'd be glad to sit down and talk with them.
Yeah, and I just want you to know, Doc's coming in on like Friday afternoon and staying until Sunday afternoon, and staying at the hotel because so many people are staying at the hotel. So he can have breakfast with you. You can have lunch with, there's going to be plenty of time for him to have quality time with every one of us. And I'm really excited about that. So this is such a rare opportunity. And you know what? People are still making flights. I just had somebody just made flights today, and it was only a couple $100 in Southwest, because it's a Southwest hub too. And of course, Dallas Fort Worth is an American Airlines hub. So you can get that from pretty much anywhere in the United States for just a couple of $100 and not too much money. Or of course, any other airlines, if you have to change planes and travel all day, do what you need to do and get there, because you're not just going to meet and see Doc, who we all know and love, at least those of us who have been on this team for a while, but you're going to meet people that you haven't met yet, so that you can look them in the eye and ask them your questions about this company. So absolutely do whatever it takes to get there. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you in Dallas. And I'm going to turn the time back over to Daniel Flemming for some final words, since he was our very special guest. And I am looking forward to having you on another call in 3 or 4 months, Doc, when you've got a lot of patient experiences and more time to actually evaluate and study. You were talking about wanting to ask people to get, their C-reactive protein blood work done before using the product and after, so they can see the results for themselves if, that those numbers look good. But, share with any final thoughts you have with people and what they can be saying to people to try the XanthoMyst and experience the best possible results.
Well, I was looking for the kind of silver bullet as to why people were sleeping better, because with the way Dr. Flemming told it, and it's truthful, his experience and mine and other people who were practitioners and used mangosteen in a different form, we did not see this contribution to sleep, which is as important as what you eat, because sleep and the proper food are the two most important things you can do. And I am getting excited about the fact that every time I go down one avenue trying to get deeper into why this could be helping sleep, I'm finding substance in every one of those directions. So it's obviously multifaceted. And I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be the thing that we can talk about with the greatest emphasis for this product.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I would agree with that. And I think even the clarity, like I was talking about, the little bit of lift is probably
Yep.
more than one thing. One of the things I would say is normally when you have some generally when you're talking about healthcare, you're talking about it can be something really powerful or it can be something really safe, and sometimes they're a little bit mutually exclusive. And I'm sure Dr. Templeman's a lot more familiar with that than me, as far as having to choose drugs that aren't going to give you worse problems than you started with. But with this, you've got something seems to be consistently pretty powerful with people. And from what we've seen over the years, it's an extremely safe approach as well. That's again a big deal.
Yep, surely is, Doc.
All right. Well, thank you, doctors. I appreciate you both very, very much for all that you do for people and for sharing with the team and helping us learn more about this product and how we can help more people, even though we don't have the creds. But as long as we care about people and are willing to share, we can definitely make as big of an impact on this world. So thank you, everybody. And I'm going to tune off until next week and wish everybody an amazing week.
Take care.
I said that. I said that because I wanted to stop the recording there. But Charlie Amenecker's got his hand up, and we do have time, so I'm going to promote that man to panelist. But that was a great call for the two of you, doctors. So I'm going to stop the recording there but bring Charlie on because he's got his hand up. We got time, and he's coming to Texas. He wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it because of some family commitments, but he figured them out. He's
going
to be there.
Hey guys, yep. We have I've only got 17 grandchildren. Congratulations, Fred. I'm amazed. That's really fantastic. I want to thank Dr. Flemming for sharing his time and his expertise and his willingness to come on here, colleague. And Fred, one of the things I wanted to throw out here was with my 21 years of experience here and having some docs on my team, what we've convinced people to do is get your blood work done. I made a couple notes. When you get your blood work done, you're going to circumvent conjecture or opinion. That's the big report card. And Fred, I mentioned this last week, and we can't figure this out, but Nancy, my wife, has, since her early 20s, her blood pressure was 145 or more over high 80s or 90s. It's been regulated with Diovan and Zango juice for 20 years. 3 months on XanthoMyst. The only thing she's done different. 3 months on XanthoMyst. The last week the reading was 117 over 72. Can anybody explain what in the world happened with the XanthoMyst and the blood pressure? Don't know.
Well, I think that I'd like to say something that's kind of odd is my blood pressure was about in the high 140s over 92, something like that, and had been getting that way when I started the original product that must not be named kind of thing that we're talking about. And 2 months later, I went to my DO for something else, and they took my blood pressure, and it was 117 over 72, which I think is kind of odd. Yeah, I remember that number very clearly because it so startled me. And it stayed pretty much in that range for years. And so it's been creeping. I hadn't been doing very much the other mangosteen product in the last couple of years, and my blood pressure's creeping up. So I'm going to be interesting to watch that and see what it does. But I don't know exactly what it is. I think
alpha mangosteen has vasodilatory powers. So we could start to look there. I'm going to start digging. I've got at least 5 testimonials about blood pressure.
Good.
Colleague, I just want to share with everybody. We had a family issue here. And I really wanted to get to Texas. And I said, Nancy, I'm going to sit down and have a chat with you. And she can't make it. She really wants to come. We have a granddaughter. It's actually a daughter issue. But I'm so excited to be able to get there with you guys. And if anybody's on the fence, please enjoy it. Get to Texas. I think there's something so special about what's going on with CTFO and XanthoMyst. And I think it's like we're striking up the band again, but we're adding band members that are coming to realize there's something really, really special here. And, you know, and I bet there's more to come. So, Fred, I can't wait to see you, buddy.
Me too.
All right. We look forward to seeing all of you. Thank you guys all for sharing, and we'll see you next week on the next XanthoMyst team call, and see you this next weekend in Dallas. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Good night.
Okay, bye-bye.